Man has always worshipped. Man still worships. What does he worship? And how? These are our questions. Man is a religious being. His irresistible urge to worship has been explained by an American anthropologist, William Howells, who said, "Man, unlike other animals, is the creature who comprehends things he cannot see and believes in things he cannot comprehend." Endless are the forms man's religion has taken. In the contemporary world, the most influential 5 with which we deal are Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. The affinities between them are many, the differences are also many. In some instances, they are fundamental, but all of them have supplied answers to many of the great questions raised in every human mind by the mystery of life. Hinduism. 5,000 years ago, before Moses or Buddha or Christ, on the riverbanks of Indus, the religion known today as Hinduism appeared. It is not only the oldest of all religions, but one of the most influential, as it has influenced such outstanding personalities as Pythagoras, Emerson, Mahatma Gandhi, and many others. In Hinduism, divinity assumes myriad personal shapes, avatars. That's why in Hinduism there are millions of gods, but the main are the Trinity: four-headed Brahma, the creator of the universe, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. The images of gods are often found in Indian temples as paintings or sculptures. The Hindu temple has many names. One of the most popular is Mandir. Mandir, in its construction, has certain features. It is based on a mandala. It always has a high tower, shikhara, in which there is an image of the divinity which is worshipped. In worshipping, the most sacred syllable is Om. This word is on the lips of devout Hindus from the cradle to the grave. The oldest Hindu writings are the Vedas. Orthodox Hindus think that their religion has existed forever, and the sacred knowledge called the Vedas have existed since the beginning of time and have been transferred from one generation to another orally by sages. One of them decided to write it down and to divide it into parts. For this he was called Veda Vyasa, the one who divided the Vedas. One, and the most popular part of the Vedas, is the Mahabharata, which is respected by all numerous religious schools and countless religious teachers. Hinduism has given the world such notions as karma, castes, reincarnation, guru, mandala, and yoga, and sincere passion for a universal tolerance. Buddhism. An offspring of Hinduism is Buddhism, which emerged in the north of India 2,500 years ago. Buddhism owes its basic teachings to one of history's greatest religious leaders, a man named Siddhartha Gautama, who was later named the Buddha. His life became a profound example to millions of his fellow men in the centuries that followed. He was born into an aristocratic family and could have spent his life in princely luxury and splendor. He had no idea about real life and sufferings of the common people. This life of luxury and domestic happiness, however, was not enough for Gautama. Once he left the palace, for the first time in his life he saw the spectacle of human suffering. He met an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and realized that the world is full of misery. At that time he was 29, and he made up his mind to solve the riddle of life. He shaved his head, put on the saffron robes of a monk, and started meditation and preaching. Eventually he achieved the enlightenment he was seeking, and thereafter became known as the Buddha, or the Enlightened One. Developing Hindu ideas, Buddha formed a unique doctrine about nirvana. Nowadays, Buddhism is widely spread, and Buddhist temples can be seen in different parts of the world. In India, there are stupas. In China, they build pagodas. In Tibet, there are datsans, and in Cambodia, vats. The symbol of Buddhism is Dharma Chakra, a chariot wheel with 8 spokes. 100 years after Buddha passed on to the Nirvana, his teachings were written down as sacred texts, Tripitaka, 3 baskets of teaching. One part of it is called Dhammapada. Buddha has given the world 2 great pronouncements, 4 noble truths, and the Noble Eightfold Path. Judaism. Judaism is a religion of one people, the faith of the Jews. It emerged approximately 3,300 years ago in Sinai Peninsula. Moses was the one to whom God issued the commandment, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Not many men before his time had glimpsed the idea of monotheism. It was not an easy revelation to live by. The place where the Jews worship is a synagogue. There is no set architectural design, and therefore exteriors and interiors of synagogues vary greatly. The main symbol of Judaism is the Star of David. According to the legend, the Jewish Tsar, David, used the symbol on his army's shield. The Torah, which means law and teaching, is the heart of the Jewish religion. It comprises the 10 commandments and also different rules of behavior, such as the right way to prepare food, to give to charity, to pay for damage, etc. Judaism is a strongly earth-centered religion. It looks to an afterlife, but its practice is not so much to prepare man for the next world as to guide him in this. Christianity. The angel Gabriel was sent from God to a city of Galilee named Nazareth to a Virgin Mary, and he said to her, "Fear not, Mary, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son, and shalt call him name Jesus." Ever since its birth 2,000 years ago, Christianity has anchored its belief in 2 convictions: that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and that God sent Christ to earth to live as humans live, suffer and die for mankind, and gloriously rise again. So for Christians, Jesus is not just the founder of Christianity, but the essence of it. Thus, Christianity places emphasis on having its Lord personally present here among us. He is a man and God at a time. Besides, no other religion has ever placed such emphasis on the fatherhood of God. Our Father begins a usual prayer underlying that every human being is not only God's servant, but also God's own child. The symbol of Christianity is a cross, as every Christian remembers about the crucifixion. The Christian temple is constructed differently in the framework of a certain confession. In Catholicism, symbolizing the ship as a means of salvation, in Orthodox tradition, using a shape of a cross in the floor plan. The New Testament has shaped Western civilization more decisively than anything else ever written. The birth, teaching, death, and resurrection of Christ are narrated in the four Gospels. How can Christianity be defined? In the broadest sense, Christianity welcomes all who will acknowledge Christ and try to follow his example. Following his path, human souls respond to a divine faith and love which makes everything else shrink into insignificance.
Будучи же пророком и зная, что Бог с клятвою обещал ему от плода чресла его воздвигнуть Христа во плоти и посадить на престоле его, он прежде сказал о воскресении Христа, что не оставлена душа его в аде, и плоть его не видела тления. Сего Иисуса Бог воскресил, чему же все мы свидетели.
Islam. Islam, the youngest of man's greatest universal religions. It emerged in Arabian Peninsula approximately 1,300 years ago. Its founder, Muhammad, was chosen by God to speak through. He was born in 570 AD in Mecca into a reputable family. Being religious, he often wandered into the hills to meditate, sometimes for days at a time. One night, the Archangel Gabriel appeared to him in a vision and cried, "Recite!" From this initial revelation, Muhammad articulated the first units of the Quran. His wife, Khadija, was the first to believe in him and always encouraged him. For a decade or more, the revelation continued, sometimes even without his will, as he stood entranced into the city streets or besides the sacred Kaaba. Floods of rhythmic prose poured from his lips. Eventually, Muhammad prescribed a number of ritualistic observations, known as the 5 pillars of Islam. Each true Muslim believes in a single all-powerful God and its prophet Muhammad. In a few years after Muhammad's death, Islam spread over the world with hurricane speed. The place where Muslims pray is called a mosque. The mosque serves as a place where Muslims can come together for prayer, as well as a center for information, education, and dispute settlement. The Imam leads the prayer. The mosque is usually decorated with the main symbol, crescent and star. The Quran is the revealed scripture of Islam. Muslims believe that the Quran was verbally revealed through the angel Gabriel from God to Muhammad, gradually over a period of approximately 23 years, beginning in 610 CE, when Muhammad was 40 and concluding in 632 CE, the year of his death. Each true Muslim lives face to face with God at all times. Wherever his prayer rug may lie is the house of Allah. In the broadest sense, Islam is a brotherhood of men under God, transcending barriers of race and nation, united in an organized effort to execute God's will. In our restless, sophisticated, global world, believers with different opinions, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, and Jews, shall stand together, bound by common values which are best of all expressed in the Golden Rule. Love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. One should never do to another which one regards as injurious to one's own self. This, in brief, is the rule of the Dharma. None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself.